Have you ever stood up from your favorite chair only to feel like your legs weren't quite there for you? Maybe it's a strange ache in your knees, a weakness in your calves, or a tight, dragging tension in your hips that makes each step feel a little heavier than the last. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. But what if I told you that hidden in your very own pantry, or sitting in that bowl on your kitchen counter, could be one of the quiet reasons your legs have been letting you down? And I don't mean sugar, I don't mean salt. I mean something far more surprising. Certain nuts. Yes, nuts. Those tiny snacks we've all been told are healthy. And while that's true for some, others can be deeply harmful, especially for seniors. Because as we age, our joints, our circulation, our muscle repair, and our nervous system all become more sensitive to inflammation, to imbalances, and to hidden compounds in our food that our bodies simply can't handle the way they used to. And the biggest problem? No one's warning you about this. Not your doctor, not the food companies, and definitely not the commercials that keep calling them heart healthy and full of good fats. But here's what they don't say. 4 common nuts can actually accelerate leg stiffness, worsen joint pain, drain magnesium from your muscles, and even weaken your ability to balance or walk comfortably. Now, I want to be clear. This video isn't about scare tactics. It's not about fear. It's about freedom. The freedom to walk without flinching, to climb stairs without pain, to move with confidence, and to understand what's actually going on inside your body so you can make informed choices, ones that work with your age, not against it. Because if you're between the ages of 60 and 85, your nutritional needs aren't just different, they're urgent. The truth is, what you eat today can either build the foundation for stronger, more capable legs, or quietly chip away at the very support systems you rely on to stay independent. And the wrong nuts? They might be doing exactly that. Let me tell you about Helen. She's 73, walks every morning, eats clean, no smoking, no drinking, a little yoga twice a week. And for years, she'd end every afternoon with a healthy snack, a handful of mixed nuts. Almonds, cashews, peanuts, a few Brazil nuts tossed in. It felt virtuous, natural. She'd even skip dessert some nights and call that her treat. But then the problem started. Her knees, always fine before, started to throb in the evenings. Her calves felt like they were tightening every time she took the stairs. And eventually she found herself avoiding her morning walk. Not because she didn't want to go, but because her legs no longer felt like they could keep up. She blamed it on aging, on arthritis, on maybe doing too much stretching. But when she came to one of our Health 360 Pro events, we took a closer look, starting with her food. And sure enough, the very nuts she thought were helping her were actually causing low-grade inflammation in her lower body. Why? Because some of them were high in omega-6 fats that throw off the body's delicate anti-inflammatory balance. Others contained compounds that interfered with magnesium absorption, made uric acid build up in her joints, or strained her kidneys, affecting her circulation. 3 weeks after removing just 2 of the worst offenders and replacing them with leg-friendly alternatives, she told me something I'll never forget. It feels like I got my legs back. Now, that's just one person. But science backs it up. We now know that certain nuts, especially when roasted or salted or processed in specific ways, can drastically alter how your body handles inflammation. And inflammation isn't just about swelling or pain. It's the quiet fire behind almost every issue we associate with aging legs. Stiffness, instability, nerve pain, fluid retention, and even muscle fatigue. But that doesn't mean you need to throw all your snacks away. It just means you need to know which ones are helping you and which ones are quietly hurting you. And that's exactly what we're going to uncover today. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the 4 worst nuts seniors should never eat, and why. We'll dive into what happens inside your knees, your hips, your blood vessels, and your muscle cells when these nuts become part of your routine. But more importantly, I'll show you what to eat instead, because this isn't about deprivation. It's about smarter nourishment, food that heals, strengthens, restores, food that lets you stand tall without fear of falling, food that lets you walk pain-free again. And I know what you might be thinking right now. Come on, it's just a handful of nuts. That can't make that big of a difference. But here's what I want you to consider. After age 60, your muscle mass starts declining by up to 1–2% every year. Your collagen production drops, your cartilage thins, your nerves become more sensitive, and the body's ability to neutralize inflammatory compounds weakens. That means even tiny changes, the kind we use to shrug off in our 40s, start having an outsized impact. In your 30s, a handful of the wrong nuts is just a snack. In your 70s, it could be the thing that turns your knees against you. And that's why we're here today, because knowledge is freedom. And your body, it's still listening, still responding, still capable of change. You just have to give it the right instructions. Let's keep going, because in a moment, I'm going to name the first nut you should absolutely avoid if you want to protect your legs. It's one that shows up in trail mix, energy bars, and even in heart-healthy meal plans. But the way it's processed actually depletes a critical mineral your muscles need to stay strong. And the side effect of that depletion: cramps, weakness, muscle zaps, and that sense that your legs are slower to move than your mind. Sound familiar? Stick with me, because what we're about to reveal could be the first step toward a steadier, more stable walk, toward a body that feels more like you again. Not the version you've been adjusting to, but the version you remember, with legs that move when you say move, not with hesitation, but with ease. And just like with Helen, that change can start with a single shift in what's on your plate. Let's keep going. Let's go back to that first nut we need to talk about. The one Helen was eating daily, the one that shows up in nearly every so-called healthy snack pack on the grocery store shelf: cashews. Now, on the surface, cashews look innocent, creamy, slightly sweet, easy to munch by the handful. They're in protein bars, energy bites, even dairy-free cheeses. And most people think of them as a better alternative to chips or cookies. But here's what most seniors don't realize: cashews are extremely high in oxalates. Now, oxalates are naturally occurring compounds found in many plants. And in moderation, they're not always a problem. But for older adults, especially those with any kidney sensitivity, joint stiffness, or a history of leg cramps, they can quietly become one of the most aggravating substances in the diet. Why? Because oxalates bind with calcium and magnesium inside your body. And those are two minerals you desperately need to maintain healthy bones, smooth muscle function, and proper nerve communication. When oxalates hijack those minerals, your muscles start to misfire, your joints become more prone to inflammation, and worse, those oxalate crystals can accumulate in tissues, contributing to stiffness, soreness, and that feeling of dragging your legs through molasses. Now, if you're 25 and eating cashews a few times a week, your body probably flushes most of that out without issue. But after 65, when kidney function naturally declines and magnesium levels are often depleted due to common medications like diuretics or proton pump inhibitors, those same cashews become a risk, a silent, painful one. And here's where it gets even trickier. Cashews are also quite high in omega-6 fatty acids. Again, in balance with omega-3s, that's not a problem. But when your body is already running a bit inflamed from age, arthritis, or inactivity, more omega-6s without enough anti-inflammatory support can push your system further towards stiffness, swelling, and pain. So, if your knees ache in the morning, if your hips feel tight when you walk, or if your legs feel unusually heavy by the end of the day, take a look at your snack habits. If cashews are a regular visitor in your routine, it might be time to kindly show them the door. Now, let's talk about the second nut. This one's more controversial because, for decades, it's been marketed as a weight loss helper, a protein-packed snack, and a cholesterol-friendly option. I'm talking about peanuts. Yes, peanuts. Or more accurately, legumes disguised as nuts. Peanuts are one of the most inflammatory foods for many seniors. And here's why. They're incredibly high in omega-6 fats, and almost always come roasted in industrial oils that are already oxidized. That means they've been exposed to high heat, stripped of natural nutrients, and chemically altered in ways your body was never designed to handle. Now, combine that with the fact that peanuts are one of the top foods contaminated with mold toxins, specifically aflatoxins, and you've got a slow, silent saboteur in your pantry. Aflatoxins are linked to oxidative stress, liver strain, and even cellular damage in tissues like your joints and nerves. And as you age, your ability to detoxify from these compounds slows dramatically. If you've been eating peanuts for decades without issue, you might wonder, why now? Why are my legs suddenly more sensitive? Because aging changes everything. Your gut barrier weakens, your liver function decreases, your blood vessels become more fragile, and the burden of toxins or inflammatory foods accumulates faster. That bag of salted peanuts you once ate without thinking may now be contributing to leg inflammation, nerve sensitivity, or that creeping weakness that feels like just getting older. But let me be clear, you're not fragile, you're not broken, you're not just wearing out, you're adapting. And adaptation means becoming more selective about what goes into your body. Not because you're limited, but because you've earned the right to be intentional. Because at this stage in life, every meal, every bite, every ingredient is either supporting your strength or chipping away at it. Now, the third nut we need to talk about. It surprises almost everyone. It's considered exotic, a little indulgent. And in small doses, sure, it can be fine. But for many seniors, Brazil nuts can actually become a major problem. The reason? Selenium. Brazil nuts are the most concentrated source of selenium on the planet. Just one nut can contain more than your entire recommended daily intake. And while selenium is essential for things like thyroid health and immune function, too much of it can lead to selenium toxicity, which shows up in ways most people don't associate with food. Leg pain, fatigue, dizziness, and even numbness or tingling in the extremities. Now, here's the thing. Most people aren't eating Brazil nuts by the dozen, but some are, especially if they have read about selenium being good for prostate health, or immune support, or skin. But more isn't always better, and when your nervous system is already walking a fine line between vitality and vulnerability, that extra selenium can tip the balance in the wrong direction. If you've noticed strange sensations in your legs, tingling, twitching, burning, or if your gait has started to feel a little off, don't ignore it. Your body might be trying to tell you it's overloaded. And Brazil nuts, as innocent as they seem, might be quietly part of the picture. And finally, the fourth nut I want to warn you about, especially if you've been dealing with gout, joint swelling, or any kidney issues, is the pistachio. Pistachios are high in purines, which break down into uric acid in the body. And while uric acid is a natural waste product, when levels get too high, either due to genetics, dehydration, or diet, it crystallizes in joints, especially in the feet and knees. That's the burning, searing pain of a gout flare. And over time, even without a full-blown flare, elevated uric acid can cause chronic joint discomfort, slow tissue repair, and increase inflammation in the lower limbs. Now, here's the kicker. Pistachios also contain FODMAPs, fermentable carbohydrates that can be difficult to digest for people with sensitive guts. If you've ever felt bloated or uncomfortable after eating a handful of pistachios, you're not imagining it. And when your digestive system is inflamed, the rest of your body follows, including your joints, including your legs. So, does that mean nuts are the enemy? Absolutely not. But context is everything. For the average 30-year-old, these nuts might be harmless. For a 70-year-old with sensitive kidneys, worn cartilage, or a delicate nervous system, they can mean the difference between a strong, steady walk and a painful shuffle. And here's the beautiful part. Once you remove the irritants, your body doesn't just stop hurting. It starts healing. The inflammation lowers, the nerves calm down, the muscles regain their tone, your steps get lighter, and your confidence grows. Because every single cell in your body is listening. Not to the clock, not to your age, but to your choices. And when you start feeding it what it actually needs, when you stop fighting your biology and start working with it, your legs become allies again, not liabilities, not disappointments, but trusted partners. Let's keep going, because in the final part of this video, I'm going to show you exactly what to eat instead. The nuts and seeds that support joint health, improve circulation, nourish your nerves, and rebuild the very collagen that keeps your legs strong, stable, and pain-free. You're not stuck with stiffness. You're not sentenced to decline. You're just one small shift away from reclaiming the strength that's been waiting inside you all along. Let's finish this together. So now that we've talked about the 4 nuts you need to either eliminate or strictly limit, cashews, peanuts, Brazil nuts, and pistachios, the question becomes, what can you eat instead? What foods actually support the strength and stability of your legs, protect your joints, reduce inflammation, and help you move with more freedom, not less? Let's start with something powerful. Walnuts. Walnuts are a completely different story than most of the problematic nuts we just covered. Why? Because they have one of the best omega-3 to omega-6 ratios of any nut. And that balance is everything when it comes to fighting inflammation. Most seniors are swimming in omega-6s from processed oils, packaged snacks, and restaurant meals, and that imbalance creates a fire in the body, one that burns silently in your joints, your veins, and your muscles. But omega-3s? They're like the fire department. They cool the flames, they lubricate the joints, they support the lining of your blood vessels, and they actually help regulate the signals that control muscle contraction and nerve response. That's why people who include omega-3 rich foods in their diet often report less pain, less swelling, and better coordination. Your body isn't just getting relief, it's getting real repair. Now, just a small handful of walnuts a day, ideally raw or lightly toasted, can begin to shift that inflammatory balance. Add them to a salad, mix them into a bowl of oats, or even eat them on their own with a bit of dark chocolate. But do it consistently. Because your cells don't need a feast, they need a steady supply. Bit by bit, day by day, the healing compounds build, and your legs feel the difference. Next, let's talk about flax seeds. They might not be as exciting as almonds or as satisfying as trail mix, but they are nutritional gold, especially for seniors. Flax seeds are high in ALA, a plant-based omega-3, and also in lignans, which are natural plant compounds with anti-inflammatory and hormone balancing effects. Why does that matter? Because inflammation doesn't just affect joints, it affects blood flow. And your legs are the first place poor circulation shows up. Ever felt that heaviness in your calves? That slight numbness in your toes? That sense that your legs just don't respond the way they used to? A big part of that could be vascular inflammation. And flax seeds, when ground fresh and eaten daily, help calm that. They also support gut health. And when your gut is healthy, your immune system works better. Your nutrient absorption improves, and your whole body operates with less strain. Sprinkle a tablespoon of ground flax into your morning yogurt or smoothie. Stir it into soup. Even bake it into homemade muffins. It doesn't take much to get the benefits, but again, it takes consistency. The body rewards what you do regularly, not what you do occasionally. Now, what about almonds? Unlike cashews or peanuts, almonds tend to be much lower in problematic compounds and much higher in nutrients seniors need more of, like magnesium, vitamin E, and fiber. Magnesium is critical for muscle contraction, nerve function, and bone density, and many older adults are running low without knowing it. Symptoms of magnesium deficiency often show up as leg cramps, muscle twitches, and even restless legs at night. So, when you bring almonds into your diet, in moderation, ideally raw or dry roasted, you're not just avoiding harm, you're adding healing. A few almonds in the afternoon can help stabilize blood sugar, calm your nerves, and give your legs the minerals they need to stay coordinated and strong. Just be sure you're not overdoing it. A small handful is enough. Too much of anything, even the good stuff, can throw your system off. Now let's bring in pumpkin seeds, also called pepitas. These little green seeds are often overlooked, but they are incredibly rich in zinc, magnesium, and antioxidants. They support joint repair. They feed the tissues that produce synovial fluid, the slick, lubricating substance that cushions your knees, hips, and ankles. When your body has enough of these nutrients, those joints glide. When it doesn't, you get friction, grinding, and pain. Pumpkin seeds are also great for sleep, thanks to their natural tryptophan content. And as we've talked about before, sleep is when most of your muscle repair happens. So, if you're not sleeping, you're not healing. Add pumpkin seeds to your soup, toss them into a salad, or eat them plain with a pinch of sea salt before bed. They're one of the few snacks that actually build strength instead of stealing it. And here's the truth you might not hear anywhere else. The difference between foods that destroy your legs and foods that restore them often comes down to one simple idea: biocompatibility. In other words, how well does this food work with your aging body? It's not just about calories or protein or fat. It's about the way each bite interacts with your biology. And your body is wiser than you realize. It doesn't need a radical overhaul. It doesn't need a 10-step plan or an expensive supplement stack. It needs honesty. It needs consistency. It needs care. Because food is more than fuel. It's instruction. Every time you eat, you're telling your body something. Are you saying inflame and degrade? Or are you saying repair and regenerate? Once you make that mental shift, everything changes. You stop looking for quick fixes. You start choosing based on function. And your body responds. Not overnight, but steadily, quietly, like a gentle tide rolling back in. So, what does a leg-friendly day of eating look like? Maybe it starts with a warm bowl of oats topped with berries, flax seeds, and a few walnuts. Mid-morning, a boiled egg and a few almonds. Lunch, a leafy salad with grilled salmon, pumpkin seeds, olive oil, and lemon. Dinner, a lentil stew with a small side of roasted root vegetables and a drizzle of avocado oil. You didn't deprive yourself. You didn't count a single calorie. You just ate in a way that supports your legs, your joints, your nerves, and your future. And if you've been living with pain for years, if your knees scream at you going downstairs, if your legs buckle without warning, or if you felt the quiet fear that one wrong step could send you to the ground, I want you to hear this. Your body is not beyond help. Even if you're 70, even if you've had surgery, even if you've been told this is just normal aging, because normal isn't the same as natural, and decline doesn't have to be your destiny. When you stop feeding your pain and start feeding your strength, healing becomes inevitable. Your legs can hold you again. You can walk with confidence again. You can wake up without that familiar ache, without the dread of movement, without the fear of falling. But it starts with awareness. Then, it grows with intention. And eventually, it becomes a new identity, someone who is strong, nourished, and proud of the choices they make. So, here's what I want you to do next. Check your pantry. Look at what nuts and seeds you're relying on. Read the labels. Ask yourself, is this supporting my legs or stealing from them? Then replace the offenders with allies. Cashews. Swap for walnuts, peanuts. Replace with almonds or sunflower seeds. Brazil nuts. Maybe once a week, no more. Pistachios. If you're sensitive to purines, skip them altogether and try pumpkin seeds instead. Your body will notice the change, not with a loud shout, but with a quiet sigh of relief. And over the next few weeks, that relief will become strength. That strength will become confidence. And that confidence, that's the moment your legs stop being a source of fear and become a foundation you can trust again. You're not too old, you're not too late. You're just one good decision away from a better outcome. So make it, and then make it again. And keep going, because your legs were made to carry you. And now, finally, they can.